Thanks everybody for joining me. One point to fix. It's actually been since 2000 that I've been the chief storyteller here. I've worked hard to earn those extra 8 years, so I thought I'd add those in. Thanks for having me this morning. I'm excited to chat with everybody about how to optimize your personal brand for LinkedIn and LinkedIn for career growth. So there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of gurus out there. I'm hoping to demystify some of this, hopefully provide some value for things you haven't heard before, and have some actual things that you can take away today. The big idea here is every time we apply for a job, seek a promotion, land a new client, if you're still dating, we have to market ourselves. And it's especially as people in the financial world, marketing seems like something we don't have to think about, or even sales. Those are almost dirty words, maybe. But if you can learn these few things, you can definitely help set yourself up above all the other people and a lot of noise that they're creating. So we're talking about brands. We can learn a lot from professional brands. So I have a deep rooted history with the brand Chevrolet. You can see here, this is my grandfather, and this is his 1976 Chevy C10 pickup truck. And this was a particularly brutal winter we had in Maine, where I grew up. You can see the snowbanks are about 7 feet there. And because of this truck, I have gone on to own many Chevrolet automobiles over the years. This is just a few of them. And again, we can take what these big brands do and apply it to our lives. Now they have millions and billions of dollars to spend on their brand, and they've built them, and like Chevrolet is over 100 years old now. But and some of us may feel like we're that old at this point, but we can take again the things that they're doing and apply it to our brand. So how do we do that? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Stick around to the end because I've got a free resource for you I wanted to give you. I'm Jason. I've been a marketer for 24 years. I've helped clients sell millions of dollars of products and services. I'm a father, husband, and I've got a fairly bad car habit. And my wife is put up with it, but she set some rules for me over the years as I've done certain things around cars. So let's jump right in. Let's talk first about building your personal brand narrative. So back in the early 2000s, there were these things called MP3s that became really popular. And Microsoft had a product called the Zune. Does anybody remember the Zune or have a Zune? Still, a couple of hands. And it did okay. There were a lot of other MP3 players on the market at the time. But Steve Jobs came along and he changed the way everybody thought about MP3 players. The iPod was a great product, but I would say towards the end, the Zune actually had a lot more features and was a better product. But Steve Jobs, the way he made the iPod so effective was he said, I'm going to put 1,000,000 songs in your pocket. Up till then, MP3 players have been sold by gigabytes. Well, who knows what a gigabyte is? But I understand, if you're going to put 1,000,000 songs in my pocket or 1,000 songs in my pocket, what that looks like, because I can correlate that to the CDs, the albums that I have, and how much space those things are taking up. And he changed the market. So the big idea here is that clarity wins over what I would have considered a better product. And they did it again, and they beat Microsoft again when it came to phones. The iPhone was the first to market. Well, not the first to market, but it beat all the Microsoft phones that are out of the time. And Microsoft tried to compete with what they called Windows Phone 7, again, because Apple was better at explaining how it was going to help people's lives be better. They won, and the rest is history. I mean, everybody's got one of these things. And Microsoft is not in the phone game at all anymore. So that's the first thing when it comes to our personal brand. Clarity wins. We don't need to be clever. We need to be clear. So let's talk about how we can build some of that clarity. First, you need to think like as you're the expert they're looking for, the guide they're looking for. It's really easy to fall into the old traps to do what everybody else is doing. But the businesses that you want to either be employed by or work with have problems that they want solved, and they're more likely to contact you if they see you as the expert that can help solve that problem. So let's demystify this. What is personal branding? Because it seems like marketing buzz. It's essentially the intentional strategic practice of defining and expressing your value. So it's how you help your ideal, again, employer or client get what they want. So here's 3 steps. Define your value proposition, showcase your expertise, and build a strong online presence. We're going to talk through these things as we go along today so that we can help explain, because one of the things I dislike the most is when I started in this business, they had all these buzzwords like value proposition, and what does that mean? So we're gonna dig into that. So to build your value proposition, answer these questions, and get a piece of paper out or do it on your computer, however you want to do it. You don't have to do it now, but at some point as you're doing this, what do I care about? Now, you're going to write some answers here that businesses don't care about. That's fine. Just don't limit yourself in this first draft. Go through and answer these questions. What are my strengths? What do I want people to know about me? How do I define myself? What makes me special? And how do I provide value to others? And who's my target audience? This is the target audience question is one that I had a call with an executive, actually a financial executive yesterday. Actually, or she was. She's now out on her own, and she said, "I've fought you for so long on my target audience, but now that I've gotten clear on it, I find all this freedom because I'm working with the people I want to work with, and that fear of missing out on some kind of business has gone away." And what I tell my corporate clients have this same exact issue is, let's narrow your audience down. You can still work with all these other people, but if we're going to spend money advertising, let's only advertise to people who are going to be the ones that you want to work with, that are really going to understand what you're trying to do for them, and have a common problem. And that's going to make your return on that investment much better. So if we think of it in our personal brand the same way, if we want to work for a certain company, a certain type of company, tailor our message and our value proposition, what makes us special, how we're going to help solve their problem to that audience, and that's going to help you get to where you want to be faster. Now, it doesn't mean you can't work with all the other people that come along, but what you want is you want to get to a spot where you don't have to work with any of those people because they're not the right fit. There might be great people, it might not be great people. Doesn't matter, because you're on the path to find your target audience, especially if you're looking for the right kind of opportunity. And I know as we're looking for the right job, it can be very stressful because there's all these things in the background that say, well, I've got to pay my bills, and I've got to, there's all these external stressors. And sometimes you have to go outside your target audience to find work, and that's okay. But again, target the right audience, because that will help you to reach those people that will get you to where you want to be in your career. Keep this question in mind. How do I help my ideal employer or customer solve their problems? Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We're selfish creations, and we want to help ourselves first. We have to constantly fight that as humans, and it's important to have that in mind, that people are looking to solve their problems first, no matter how great you are and how much they other altruistic things they talk about when employing somebody. It's important to remember, if you can clearly solve someone's problems, that's going to go a long way to getting you a job. I was talking with a CEO, and he was applying at a new company, and he went through and did a case. Well, he actually mystery shopped this company before walking in for his interview, and he wrote a report. And that's what got him the job, was the fact that he went through and identified some problems they didn't even know they had. And that report went a long way to helping him stand out. So let's look at a value proposition. So you take all that stuff that work we just did, and you try to get that down, and you could call it a purpose statement. You could call it a mission statement. Value proposition is probably the why am I valuable to you as a company? So here's an example. I'm an experienced social media manager in the athletic wear industry who's passionate about driving brand growth. So the idea is you want to talk about who you want to work with, in this case, the athletic wear industry, and what you bring to the table. And as a social media manager, driving brand growth is super important because most social media managers are really just focus on pretty images and clicks. And while those things are important, there's more to it. So this would help somebody in that arena stand out. The last thing to consider when you're talking about your personal brand is your visual identity. So this is something we often forget, especially, a lot of you are really good with the numbers, and the visual side isn't as important. So think about these things. What's your favorite color? What's your fashion style? Now, for me, I don't really consider my fashion style when I built my personal brand. That wasn't important to me, so I left that one off. But what do you do when you're not working? How do you decorate your office? Where do you go to online? Where do you like to vacation? Because these things will all help build relationship with someone else. The way I have my background set up on Zoom is important because it helps build connections with people on the first call. All the things back there that usually help somebody tell some kind of story about their own life and make some kind of connection with me. So it's very strategic to have your office, whether it's virtual or if you still have an office that people go to in person, that represents you, and you can take some of that into your personal brand. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm really into cars. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I don't talk about cars a ton, even though my ideal client would have that in common with me. I've just found that the majority of my audience online, it doesn't quite resonate with that. So I talk about it some because it is part of my brand, but it doesn't resonate with the audience that's out there. I have a client that she loves peacocks, and that's part of her brand. So every so often, one of her posts has some kind of peacock theme to it because, again, it's part of her personal brand, it's part of her corporate brand. And you can see other things that you can use to help build your personal brand, because we can all have conversations around, or we used to be able to have conversations around our favorite movies and music and books and so on and so forth. Some of those things can be used in your personal brand. So now that we've got our personal brand set up, let's talk about our LinkedIn profile. But before I go that direction, let's take a second, pause. Any questions about your personal brand? So let's talk about how we leverage that on LinkedIn. So if you Google somebody or yourself, ideally, the first thing you want to show up as LinkedIn. And this is why we go through this process and teach this and do this for our clients, is because, again, if someone's going to search you out, you want LinkedIn to be the top. And the interesting thing is, I'm not an actor. So Google has listed me wrong. And this is recent. I was in a meeting, recent in the last couple of years. I was in a meeting a couple of years ago and got introduced as a child actor. I was not a child actor. I've done some acting. I've worked a little bit in Hollywood, but I'm not associated with any of these movies. So for some reason, I find it extremely hilarious that this other Jason Duncan has started to creep into my feed. This is not my IMDb. I do have one, but this isn't it. So, but you can see it doesn't matter because LinkedIn's the first thing here. And if you're looking for me, you're going to click this link, and we want that for all of you. Now, the challenge is some of you have names that are very competitive. Like if you've got somebody who's famous, unfortunately, my Jason Duncan's not very famous that he's totally taken all the listings here. Our mutual friend, Scott Hamilton, of course, there's a famous figure skater whose name's Scott Hamilton, so it's hard for him to compete. But still, this is a great first step, and this is why one of the reasons why LinkedIn is so important is because to help you get those showing up top on Google. So why LinkedIn? There's lots of other platforms out there. LinkedIn has now over 1 billion members. It's a top platform for B2B and B2B sales. LinkedIn is Google for B2B. So the idea is that Google is a search engine where you can find anything. LinkedIn is a search engine where you can find all kinds of B2B information. Most business leaders use LinkedIn wrong, so there's an opportunity there to use it right. And LinkedIn's a social selling platform. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about what social selling is and how important it is to your career when you are at a company. So the first thing is we want to talk about how to optimize our profile. So here's a profile on the left that has not been filled out. And you can see here on the right, it has properly been filled out. So how do we go about doing that? Well, here is I would say at least the base list. And I'm not going to read this to you, but I'm going to do is show you exactly how to put all these things into action in just a minute. But I wanted to put it into a full list so that if you're watching this, want to go back and watch this again or screenshot this, you have a list of things that you need to make sure they're set up properly. So here's my profile. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you have a banner image. Now, there's a lot of different advice out there about the banner image, but my recommendation is it needs to have at least some part of your value proposition in it, or what you do. So for example, we use keywords because while we are a strategy first marketing agency, which means that anyone comes to us, we recommend strategy so that those tactics actually work. And you folks, as being in the financial world, will appreciate the fact that we're trying to protect the marketing investment. People don't think, well, I need a marketing strategy. They usually start complaining about their website or something else first, which leads to strategy. We're also trying to call them to action with our phone number and our website. Now, for you folks, you may not want to have contact information. If it's something that you can do, it's recommended. But if you're, again, looking for a job, you may not want to have your email or your phone number out there. You might want to have LinkedIn Messenger be your connection. But the main thing that's different, because I've seen some people recommend, well, put a nice photo in here of something you love from your personal brand. Like if you love the beach, that's okay. But you also need to have an image of you ideally in action. And we're actually not recommending the image go to the right side of the screen anymore. We're recommending that actually goes in the middle of this banner, because what happens is as the pages scale and that this information starts to get covered. And because we want this to be the most important thing, having your photo here helps keep the information front and center on the right side, which is fun to say front and center on the right side. But and the way you can design one of these is go to Canva. Canva is a graphic design platform online, and you can type in LinkedIn banner. It'll give you a bunch of designs. Basically, from your personal branding exercise, you just take your colors, find a photo. You can use your cell phone. It's perfectly fine. Cell phones do a great job of photos. You can actually cut out the background and insert yourself in the middle, and then have, again, your value proposition or some kind of headline as to how you're going to help solve their problem in this area. And if you've got contact information, you can put that in there. But again, Canva has some great templates you can use to do that. Make sure that you have a nice headshot. Don't use AI. Make sure it's a real headshot. I know AI is getting better and better, but still, to have you with all the to invest in a headshot is worth the money. If you can't afford it, use your smartphone. Again, it has a portrait mode and it does a great job. And you can go into Canva and cut out the background. So I actually tested it here. This background is one that I put in using the background remover in Canva just to see how well it worked. And I'm actually standing in this office to get that photo. The next thing we need to do, so we've got our banner, we've got a clear headshot. Again, you make sure that you're, head and shoulders at most. Don't try to get clever with your headshot. The idea here is that if someone was to meet you in person, they should be able to recognize you from your headshot. I've seen people, have them sitting in a chair and they're far away from the camera. Don't do that. It doesn't help anybody get to know you, because we all want to put a face with the people we're talking to. just like we're all on Zoom right now, most of us are head and shoulders, maybe a little bit more. No one's sitting back. So use that same rule when you're having your headshot taken. And it's a worthy investment. It's a few $100s. And ideally, one of the things that actually we recommend is if you're having a family photo taken, pay the money for the family photo and get a headshot done while you're there, so you can kind of get maximize your investment when it comes to headshot. Moving on, the next most important thing is, I clicked it, is having a clear headline. And I've got a formula for how you do this, but the big idea here is your headline follows you around LinkedIn. So every time you comment, the first 40 characters show up. So here's your profile headline formula. And the first one is if you are at a company. So what we recommend is if you are looking for a job, you use this one, title and your value, and make sure you use LinkedIn approved titles. I'll talk more about that in a minute, how to find those. And the second option is if you are currently employed and you're trying to build your career and help your company succeed, you talk about the service you provide and the target audience you serve. And I recommend flipping your profile based on what your goals are. So if you're looking for a job, it needs to be targeted to that purpose. It looks a little bit more like a resume at that point. And if you're at a company and you want to add value to the company, and you flip your profile so it's focused on how you're going to help them grow the business. And if I know that in some organizations, if you're trying to become a partner, bringing in clients is important, but I think everybody who's customer facing should have a customer facing profile, because again, if someone searches you, they're going to find you, and it's going to help attract people to the business. And again, keep your headline simple and clear. Don't be clever here. And remember, your title follows around LinkedIn. So here's an example of how your title follows around LinkedIn. This is a comment I made on somebody's post. And you can see here that my title, which is actually different here, we're always mixing it up, trying to find the best title for me. And testing is here, the first 40 characters or so. That's why your title is so important. Oh, I mentioned this approved titles. So there is a website. Let me see here. I chat this to everyone. That you can go to find approved titles. And I put that in the chat for you. So go to that link. I don't know if it's clickable within the chat. Looks like it. No, it did go. And there's some things there that you can use to help build your profile. And there's also a list. You can search a list of approved titles, because you've got to be searchable. And when you are looking for a job, being searchable is very important. So making sure you've got the right keywords, you're using the right titles. Like, for example, my title is on LinkedIn. If you look at my under my job section, is Chief Storyteller. Well, that's not an official title anywhere on LinkedIn, so it's absolutely useless for job search purposes. But we're using it because story is so important, and it's a way for me to start a conversation with somebody about the importance of using story in their marketing, because information is now at this point, because thanks to AI and Google and everything else, is a commodity. People are looking for stories. So the brands that are clear and you do that by using story are the ones that succeed. So use that link I just sent you to help get clear on the approved titles. And then when you move to a position to help a company grow, then that's when you change your title, because nobody cares about your title at that point anymore. They want to know about how you're going to help them solve a problem when it comes to getting clients. Any questions around portfolio headlines? Awesome. Your about section. And there's no hard and fast rules here, but again, we always want to tell some kind of story. So the first thing, if you're looking for a job, should be your value proposition. If you are employed somewhere, you own a business and you're trying to grow, you can actually copy the sections I have here, what we do, where you've seen our work, what clients say. If you're looking for a job, you would probably have what I do, and it would be your value proposition. You might list some places that you've worked. You definitely want to have some testimonials from people that you've worked with. And then you want to have some kind of call to action. So for me, again, we're pushing the corporate phone number and the website. Your mileage may vary. You may just want to have DM me, or you might want to put your phone number. There are ways to get a phone number that you can use to protect your cell phone. Like you can use Google Voice to set up a number for yourself so that you can use online. And then if it starts to get too cluttered, Google Voice is free and it will forward to your phone. It might be a good way to get some kind of phone number on the internet without having to give up your cell phone to all those people that love to have that information to send you all kinds of spam. So that's how you handle your about section, is making sure that you clearly tell people what you do, how you're going to help them, build some credibility through testimonials. And then you can talk about some of the, if you're looking for a job, the services we provide could be something around, some of the key skills that you have that set you apart from others in the industry. The big idea here is make this skimmable. So you can see here, there's lots of white space, and we used some bold text to help call out the different sections. It makes it much more readable, because really the idea here is you've got to draw them in. That's where this first value proposition starts, to get them click that more button, which then reveals the rest of this information. But the most valuable thing is that first value proposition. That's what they're going to see first, and then going on from there. And then you can see we use some emojis to help, again, break this up and make it a little more visual. You can go to ChatGPT and type in what are all the emojis available, and you can pick and choose. You can even say, what are emojis that would be appropriate for financial services, or whatever you're looking to do. Next, you want to have your services. Now, this doesn't work for every industry, but look to see if this is something that you can activate. This would be more appropriate, again, if you already have a job. And I believe that every company, as part of their welcome package, should offer to rewrite your LinkedIn page to help you better explain what you do in the marketplace, because that will help attract top talent and it will help attract new customers. For us, if we're looking for employment, use this featured section. So what I recommend is having at least 3 things in your featured section. And if you're looking for a job, this is a great opportunity to use video. I hired somebody yesterday because of all the people we looked at, she had video in her profile. We were able to get to know how she would handle things. She talked about her processes, and people are looking for thought leaders. So take the opportunity to create even short videos. I mean, 40, 60 seconds, whatever it is, 30, 60 seconds. You can put the videos on YouTube. That's where these are coming from. And just talk about something that, your ideal client, your ideal employer would be interested in, and have that information here, because it sets you up as somebody different. This is a free guide for manufacturers. We do a lot of work with manufacturing companies. And that's another thing you can do. You can have free resources, whether it be an article you wrote, or again, put something in this space. And if video can take a little bit longer to create. Using your cell phone's perfectly okay. But if you don't have that, use an article maybe you've written, even on a word, easy to tilt up WordPress site or something, just to get some kind of information out there. And there's some different ways. You might even be able to put PDFs in here. I don't have any clients currently doing that, but check out the featured section to see what's available to you in terms of opportunities to make connections and be seen as an expert and a thought leader. Make sure that you have activity on your feed. So we recommend posting at least once a week. Ideally 2 or 3 times is better, because there are, I think 1% of people, I've got a slide coming up somewhere on this, 1 or 2% of people publish once a week. So by publishing once a week, you're standing out from among the other 99% that don't. And by posting twice a week, you're standing out even more. So the idea is that you post because you want to stand out. You post because you want to stay in front of your network, because if there's an opportunity, you want them to be thinking of you. and you're posting because if someone's looking to hire you or to be your client, you want to be talking about the problems they have and how you can help solve them and make their lives better. One of the things I recommend doing when it comes to creating content is making a list of problems that your ideal employer or ideal client has, and those become what we call your greatest hits. Think like you're the Beatles, and Paul McCartney's I think he's in his 80s at this point, and he's still singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand." Right, so there are going to be things that you're going to talk about over and over again. You're going to struggle to figure out how to find a new way to say these things, but that's okay. If you look through my feed, you'll see that my topics are typically marketing strategy, LinkedIn, website design, and video, because I know that those are the things that my target audience is most interested in, and those things go a long way to building relationship again with my referral partners, with potential clients, and my current clients. Your experience section. Make sure your experience section talks about how you, not just about your job, but how you help, again, makes your ideal employer or client's life better. And make sure that you've got your education and that the volunteer section has, whatever you're doing there. Make sure you're using the skills section. And it's important to get endorsements for the different things. So you can see here I've listed quite a few skills, and I don't remember who pulled these screenshots, but obviously they haven't endorsed me for this stuff yet. Actually, I need to fix that. But go through and have some people who have worked with you in those areas, click the endorse button, and then ideally create recommendations for you. It's the rumor is that you want 3 to 5 recommendations. And this will go a long way to helping LinkedIn see your profile as valuable, and also help people see your profile as valuable. And then you can take these recommendations, pull quotes out of them, and put them into your about section. And if you're in a business, you can use this, and I would say Google or any other review site, and take those and pull those into your about section. I think that's where most of mine came from, in my about section. So we've just been through your profile. This is, again, the reminder of all the things that you need to look at. Make sure you do have a custom URL. That's something that can be set within LinkedIn. And you can go to Google and type in, how do I set my custom URL? And there'll be a video or somebody there talking about it. And the reason, again, that's important is because you want to be found on Google, and having your custom URL is a part of that process. It's not the only thing that gets you to the top of Google, but it's definitely important. So now that we've got our personal brand set up and we've got our profile set up, how do we network? There's a big disconnect when I talk to people about networking on LinkedIn and networking in person. So let's just remind ourselves, here's the in-person networking process, right? You drive to an event. If you're here in Southern California, that takes a couple of weeks just to get places. You hope you're in the right room with the right people. You give your elevator pitch a bunch of times. You build relationships, you nurture those relationships, and you get a job or you get business, whichever your goal is. Online networking, you've saved yourself some miles. You find the right people by doing certain things. You build relationships, you nurture those relationships, you get business or you get a job. So they're very similar. It's just easier to get into the right room, and you're saving yourself some miles. But the process is the same. We're trying to build those human connections. So it changed my perspective on LinkedIn when I started thinking about it like this, because I've networked for years. I've probably met some of you at networking events. So how do we take that and apply it to LinkedIn? Well, I mentioned it before. There's an opportunity when it comes to posting on LinkedIn, because only 1 to 2% of people are doing that per week. So by showing up, you're standing out, and that's like going into a room and just having conversations. So think of it that way. If someone's asking you, so what's the latest and greatest in your industry? That's the kind of thing that should be on LinkedIn. You want to follow, again, people that you've worked with in the past, people that you're in your network, greater network, who might be somebody you've met at an event, and then you want to try to get connected to people that you want to work with. So what do you post? There are 3 types of posts. There's serve, share, and sell. So the idea here is you want to serve your audience by solving those problems. That's where those frequent asked questions that we talked about earlier go. You want to share a little bit about who you are, and maybe some of these things like behind the scenes, your why, some personal insights. Like for example, a couple of weeks ago, my family was blessed to be able to go on a Make-A-Wish trip for my son who's got cystic fibrosis. I posted about that. You would think that it wouldn't be something appropriate to post about on LinkedIn, but people want to get to know you. And that was something that was very special to my family. It was a moment I wanted to share with all the folks that I know online. So you've got to toe the line there. You don't need to post what you had for dinner. That's not what LinkedIn is for. But to share the human experience and the things that you'd say to people if you were in the room with them, that's okay. That's why we went through that exercise for your personal brand, because if you like donuts, a post every month or so about donuts is perfectly fine. Now, posting every day about donuts, that's going to drive people away, and that's more of a Instagram thing. But there's those pieces that you can use to help build trust and build human connections, because I see people all the time that I've posted something, they say, I didn't know you played guitar, and we're able to have conversations around that because maybe they played the drums for years. So it's all about taking that risk, stepping out a little bit, and sharing a little bit of information that's a little different on LinkedIn. Now, the last piece is sell. So the sell, if you're looking for a job, would be, hey, I'm looking for a job. If you know anybody who's hiring in this industry, please let me know. And what we recommend is having some kind of post that goes with that helps draw them in, usually telling us some kind of story. And then having that be your call to action. That's perfectly fine. Now, if you're in business, you'll want to talk about, again, products and services and all these other things, case studies that are opportunities to sell. Now, the rule here is just 80-20. 80% serve and share, 20% sell, because you've all seen people online, all they do is they post their products, all they do is sell, sell, sell. And you start to ignore their posts because there's nothing there for you to connect with. Because like I don't know what you, but I'm not in the market for a diesel generator for my construction equipment. That's just not something I'm interested in. But if that same company was to post some other things about, again, that serve the audience, how they're solving problems with their services, or even shared a little bit behind the scenes, that would go a long way to helping me be able to make connections and helping that person with their business. Because the other thing here is that if you can create a post that gets likes, but ideally comments, that's going to elevate the post and start to show it to other people. And that's why the other reason this is so important is posting, again, at least once a week, is because it gives you opportunity to stay in front of people and possibly get outside the network that you already have, because you shared some kind of insight or something that connects with other people and is seen by other people. Ideally, what this does is it helps you build your connections each week. The thing to remember is that LinkedIn, we used to say, well, you don't connect with somebody unless you know them. That's no longer the case. You want to connect with anybody who fits into your ideal client profile or ideal employer profile, or you can just connect with everybody. That doesn't matter. My goal in business is not to be a LinkedIn influencer. I want to really connect with those that are going to help me get my business to where I want to be. However, I'm connected with a lot of people that I don't expect them to get me there. They're just people in my network who are friends, and more happy to, again, to stay top of mind and help them with whatever their goals are by commenting and being a part of their community. So here's an example of 3 different types of posts. Here's Susan Howington. She, I think, spoke a couple of months ago, actually, here at Fang. So the first post is a serve post where she talks about star power. This video did really well for her. It went well beyond her connections in terms of number of impressions. And she actually used it to promote an event. So it's even more, that post probably crosses into the a few of these different areas because of what she did here. But at the outset, the goal was to serve her audience by providing some valuable information for them. Next, she shared her love for castles, but tied it back to business. I always recommend, if you're going to title something personal, make sure it has some kind of business insight into it. So she talked about castles in this post. And then this post was a sell post just to get people that they needed help with outplacement to watch this video to learn more. You'll notice something that in two of these posts is that they include images of her. And this is the hardest thing all of our clients go through, is that people want to see pictures of you. So if you look at my profile, 2 out of the 3 posts that I do per week usually has some kind of image of me. And again, these can be taken with your cell phone. And you can reuse images over and over again in different ways, but having some kind of image of you in the post helps lift the post. One thing that has changed, you can see here in these posts, we had links in them. LinkedIn no longer really loves the idea of having links in your post. We're recommending now, if the link is not important to the post, put it in the first comment. If it's important to the post, go ahead and put it in the post, but they throttle the reach of the posts if you put a link into it now. This was a year or so ago, these posts were out, and LinkedIn didn't care at that time. Any questions or thoughts on posting? It's important.
I'm sorry, yes, it took a minute. So you mentioned that you need to get a video in. How do you get a video into a post without a link?
Great question. You upload it directly. So you can actually record the video on your cell phone using the LinkedIn app, and that will put it directly into LinkedIn. Or you can, when you're uploading your post, you can put a video file in there. So if you've got a video that's, say, on YouTube, you can, if it's your account, you can go download it and then upload it to LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. And I'm not monitoring the chat, so if anyone sees something in the chat that we should be chatting about, please let me know. I know we've got, probably should wrap this up about 5 minutes, Don, so we can have to do some questions. I think we're almost home. So again, the idea is having some kind of activity each week. You don't have to post 3 times a week. Posting once a week is fine. So how I accomplish this, because I have a team that could do all the writing for me. They're currently not. I've begrudgingly made this a task for myself so that I can better help my clients through this process if they have questions, and we can always be testing new things. And so if you see a post online, it's from me directly. It's something I wrote. So I take my Saturday morning and I work on posts. My goal is 3 a week. Sometimes I only get to 1, depending on how busy Saturday happens to be. But that's my Saturday morning, is working on writing posts so that I can at least have 1 a week. So the way I handle it is that Saturday morning I sit down and I write all my ideas out. I start to refine whatever posts seem like they're going to rise to the top, and then make sure that I've got 4, so that if I don't get back to this, I've got at least 1 a week for the next 4 weeks. And then if I've been more prolific in my writing, then I start to, I go to 2 a week and I go to 3 a week, but I always make sure I have 4 ready to go, because I don't want to miss. And you can pre-schedule those on LinkedIn. When you go to put your post in LinkedIn, there's actually a little clock beside the schedule, or the post, sorry, it's beside the post button. Click the clock and it'll let you schedule that post for any time in the future. A few more posting tips. And actually, this first one is true of your LinkedIn profile. Make sure it's in your own voice. Don't, your LinkedIn profile, even if you're looking for a job, should not sound like a resume. It should sound like a conversation you're having at a networking group. So if you're looking at your profile right now and it says, Jason is yada, yada, yada in the third person, go fix that right away and say, I am. Make it in your voice. That would be the easiest thing to go fix, and do that right away, because you're not helping yourself by writing it. Even though it's nice to have it sound like it was written by the Wall Street Journal and you've got some kind of authority, that's not the case in 2024 anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. Go get that changed. Make sure your posts are in your own voice. Don't post or reshare more than once every 24 hours. This is a big one. The LinkedIn algorithm can really only handle a post every 24 hours. Is actually like 20 hours. So what I do is I try to post at 7:30 every morning when I do have a post. I found that for me, my posts do better if they go out in the morning. We have some clients on the East Coast, so again, we'll try to schedule those at 7:30 in the morning or 7 in the morning, depending on the industry, maybe even a little earlier. Sometimes construction and manufacturing goes a little earlier because those folks get to the office earlier. I remember consistency outperforms frequency. So if you can post once a week, just make it once a week. That's perfectly okay. And that's what I recommend. Start small. It's really daunting to think I've got to write 3 posts a week. Start with one, because that one will go a long way to changing your business or your career. And then remember, your personal story always matters. So be really careful, because there's this thing called Chat GPT out there, and it's really easy to let it try to write your post for you, but you need to put your human experience into it. So never copy and paste from AI. Always use it for research. One of the things I like to do is I'll usually come up with the opening hook, or at least the base idea, and then I'll go to Chat GPT and say, hey, how do I finish this? And I'll pull a couple of ideas out of it, or I'll say, write me a better hook. And so far, it's probably my ability to program the AI. Most of the hooks are horrible. And I know there's a way to get that better, but that's not. But again, it's all for ideas, not for doing your work for you. If you do need some help, and I'll put this link in the chat, there's a service called Taplio, and they it has some AI built into it. It has some research tools into it. So if you're stuck for what to post, it goes a long way to helping you get some ideas. And it has a bunch of tools built into it. Definitely recommend checking it out. Again, if you're trying to get into this, the other thing it does is it has some learning in it. There's some training that'll help you be better at LinkedIn and all these other things. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're struggling to get this done and really want just a little bit of a kick in the pants. Spending a few bucks a month is a great way to force you to get things done, because you don't want to waste that investment. As I mentioned before, video is great. I don't have time to really go through this too much. LinkedIn is actually putting some new priority on video. They're trying to make it a little bit more like the other social media platforms. So if I don't have a lot of insights into that right now, but follow me on LinkedIn. I'll be talking about that more in the coming weeks, about how you can take this opportunity where they're talking about video and take it to the next level. And again, it all can be done from your cell phone. Make sure you're joining groups, because you can message anyone in a group for free. So go back to your college days, find those groups, company pages for places you used to work, industry pages. Those are all great opportunities to make connections and to provide thought leadership, because if they're having a conversation around something you're an expert in, it's a great way to show your expertise. And again, your headline, if it's that first 40 characters to set up properly, that will lead people back to you and what you're trying to do. The most important thing, I know I spent a lot of time on posting, but commenting is actually more important. So again, find the places you want to work, find the clients you want to work with, your customers you want, and comment on their post. There's actually a way to use Sales Navigator to figure out who's most active on LinkedIn. But commenting, I would say spend, even if you aren't writing a post every day, make sure you're commenting every day. If you're having trouble with commenting, here's another resource that I recommend. It's called Evie AI. It's a commenting tool. I believe Tapwheel I know it has a similar thing built into it, but I don't like it. I actually have Taplio for research, and then I have Evie AI for commenting. And the only thing is, LinkedIn doesn't like you to use these third-party apps, so do be careful. But this one, while it technically does break some of the LinkedIn's rules, I found it to be a valuable tool and worth the risk. But I'm not a lawyer, and your mileage may vary. Last piece here is your daily routine. So make sure that you have some kind of daily routine when it comes to LinkedIn. What I do when I first go to LinkedIn is I go to celebrations. So I usually schedule my posts, in advance, usually the night before. And then I go to the celebrations page, wish people happy birthday, say congratulations on career adjustments. I try to make a few comments on posts, again, within the people who are in my ideal client, or I'm trying to find jobs with, or my referral partners. And then make sure I check out my notifications, make sure that there's no posts that I need to, comments I need to comment on in my post, or any mentions that I need to address. The last thing here is patience and consistency. Make sure that you are patient. This is not something that's going to make you handsome, rich, and wise tomorrow, but the company, people that stick with it, grow their careers and grow their business. And remember, conversion takes time. We're not going to talk about Sales Navigator today, but I have a free resource for you if you really want to dive into some of this more. It's called How to Get More Clients Using LinkedIn. This is really more targeted towards businesses that are looking to get more, but there's a lot of nuggets in there for how you, as someone looking to find a job, can also benefit from that. I'll put the link to that in the chat as well. And then if you need any help with your profile or whatnot, happy to do that. It's service we provide. Any questions?
Yes. I'm sorry for monopolizing here. I have a strong division in my brain and my life between my work and my personal stuff. And you've commented a little bit, which I found unusual, about maybe engaging more of your personal life and personal comments into LinkedIn. Can you just talk a little more generally about that philosophy and how it works for you, and maybe give me some comfort that I should be doing that more?
Yeah, it's tough. And everybody that we work with struggles with it at first, and sometimes that struggle never goes away. But the idea is that people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the way that you one of the ways that you build that know, like, and trust, beyond, again, being a thought leader and being the expert looking for, is having things in common, right? We talked earlier, some of us were from New England. That goes a long way. So I often talk about farming or growing up in a farming community in New England. I love baseball. You can see back here, I've got some Red Sox very subtly in the background. So again, you don't want to do it all the time, because those are the things that get you unfollowed. But I'll usually try to sprinkle in something that's a little more personal twice a month. If I'm posting 3 times a week, if I'm posting once a week, one of those posts is going to be a little more personal. Everything else is going to be either that the server or share, or server sell, sorry. And most of that usually, so let's say 4 posts a week, 4 posts a month. 2 of those are going to be how I'm going to help you as my ideal client solve their problem. One's going to be a little more personal, and one's going to be an obvious sell post. Does that help?
Yeah. And I resonated to how much discomfort I would feel doing that kind of stuff. And maybe it's, Tim, you got to get over it and start doing it. And maybe that's the lesson I need to learn here, is just do it. And what the hell, right?
And be careful, have someone who's a sounding board to make sure you're not going too far. And that's what I do. I have one of my writers who I talk to. I say, hey, I'm thinking about posting about this, like the Make-A-Wish trip. I was, hesitant to talk about that, but it's allowed me to have lots of great conversations. My network is always cheering for me, so they were excited to see it too. And I haven't had anybody unfollow me or send me a message that was disparaging. Actually, in the years that I've been serious with LinkedIn, I've only had one person send me a negative message, and it was a competitor who said, well, this information is very, elementary. And I'm like, well, I ignored him and unfollowed him because he doesn't understand how to use social media. I wasn't there to help give him advice. I was there to help give advice to people that aren't marketing experts. So again, my experience has been very positive. I've stayed away from, I recommend staying away from politics.
I was just going to say that's definitely a hard line. And I've certainly disengaged from people who have made political posts on LinkedIn. It completely inappropriate as far as I'm concerned.
At the same time, sometimes, because a lot of moral issues have become political, you have to figure out what works for your brand. Like, people posting yesterday about the tragedy that happened in Israel. I know that there are a group of people who have a different opinion than well, myself and others when it comes to that one. But I felt like it was okay to that was something okay to talk about because it was such a tragedy, and we're praying that those those hostages are returned and that whole thing can be resolved as best it can be.
Yeah,
Jason, are
moral
there
issues.
lists of words to use or not to use on LinkedIn?
Words to use or not to use.
Yes.
To avoid sounding like Chat GPT. So you'll start to, if you start using it, you'll see the words it uses. What I recommend is doing some research. So if you're looking for a job, oh, here's a good tip I forgot to share. If you're looking for a job, take that job description and copy and paste the information out and put it into a word cloud generator and find the keywords that it finds over and over again and put those in your posts and in your profile. That's probably one of the most important things that I forgot to share was the importance of keywords. So I wouldn't say there are any words in particular you shouldn't say, but the things you should say are around the words that you'd find in the job posting that you're trying to attract.
Jason, do you have a customer service number for LinkedIn? I had a problem and could never find anyone.
You and everybody else.
Yeah, it's yeah. It's tough to get a hold of someone. The only way that I've succeeded, and I had a company call me about this the other day. The only way you can get to LinkedIn, and I don't have any, unfortunately, any magic bullet, is by being a paid member and having a paid problem. And that might help you get whatever else you got going on wrong. I've got a problem with my profile where it doesn't show my website in my headline. And it's just going to be a thing that's probably never resolved because it's, again, hard to get to somebody in customer service. And it's not just LinkedIn. Facebook is even worse. And Google's not great either. And so all these big companies are horrible. Just be thankful you're not selling on Amazon. It's also another behemoth that our clients constantly struggle with.
Jason, you mentioned know, like, and trust, which I really agree with. So I'm not sure how to word this, but okay, now you've posted, you've gotten people to see you're an expert, whatever else. How do you close the deal and convert it into a client or into the next step?
So from a client standpoint, we have a whole system for this. This is what we do for our clients, is to have a free offer, and you could do this as someone looking for a job too. Have something of value that's digital that people will be willing to exchange information for. So what we do for our clients, this is a little inside baseball, is we'll send a message to somebody who we know struggles with a certain issue. So a big one for us is we know that companies struggle with LinkedIn a lot, those in our target audience. So we'll send them a free thing that says, hey, Bob, I've got a free resource for you. It could be an ebook. Maybe you've got a 10,000 word ebook that you could say to help architects find new clients on LinkedIn. Can I send it to you? So what I haven't done there is I didn't try to go for the meeting, because if we've never met, I'm not gonna, I wouldn't want to have coffee with you per se. Although any of you folks happy to have a meeting or coffee with you. And I didn't ruin my opportunity by spamming them saying, hey, Bob, we're a strategy first digital marketing agency. You want to hop on a call and look at your marketing? I offer them something for free that's easy to say yes or no to. Nobody's gonna, be angry at you for offering them something for free that doesn't include, isn't a meeting and doesn't sound overly salesy. So that's how we handled the first step. If they say yes, that's an introduction to start a conversation. Usually there's a follow-up saying, hey, Bob, what did you think of the lead magnet? What was something you're going to be able to implement into your company? And if they ignore us, we come back in 3 to 6 months and offer them something else for free. So it's a very non-spammy way to make connections and start those conversations.
Thank you.
Hey, Jason, if I can interject before those questions, a lot of people dropping off, so I'd recommend you save the chat. There's a lot of links in there, And if you don't save the chat, you won't have the links. And I think Bill Laser has his hand up.
Yes, hey, thanks, Dave and Jason. I had a question about sharing information about your nonprofit work and also about volunteering. What's your thought on that, and what percentage of the sharing that you do should involve that, if at all?
Yes, you absolutely should do that. If it's as you feel comfortable. So I recommend everything you do from a volunteer standpoint, you put in there, but you have to decide what's most important. So if you look at my profile, it lists the pure game. I do more volunteering, beyond that, but that's the one that I chose to put in because it's the one that I'm probably most likely to have some kind of conversation with somebody about, because they're going to know somebody from the pure game. We're going to be able to, again, it's going to be an opportunity to connect with somebody because they're going to know Tony, who was the founder, or they're going to have had some kind of interaction with that, especially here in the local area. It's if you've got some national organizations like Boys and Girls Club or CASA is another one that we've been involved with. Those are all great. So again, I just to reiterate, as many as you feel comfortable sharing, because again, it's just another way to build that know, like, and trust and have those conversations with people.
Right, thank you.
Got one hand up here from Omar, and let's, Don, I think we should probably wrap it here. It's about 9:20.
Yep, I agree.
So Jason, just a quick question. When you comment on somebody's post, is it seen by all your network connections, what you post, what your comments are, or how does that work?
It's not seen by necessarily all your network connections, although LinkedIn does sometimes elevate that. The big idea for commenting is you want to be seen by the person who wrote the original post. So if you're trying to connect with somebody online, the most guaranteed way for them to get to know you is by commenting on their post, because they get notifications on their phone or within LinkedIn, or definitely within their email, that, hey, somebody commented on your post. So that's why that is so important to the strategies that we recommend.